Hello, this is Diaspora with Redirecting, and we are going to be discussing again a video that was put out by the ambassador for the African Union, the U.S. ambassador for the African Union. Watchman and I did a live broadcast on my channel as well as his channel, in which we addressed the speech that was put out there. Now, we watched the whole speech, and we have encouraged everyone else to watch the whole speech as well, so that you can draw your own conclusion. But we felt it very necessary that we expound on this, and I'm glad we did, because when looking at the comments, many of our people were definitely confused by the speech. Now, here's the deal. Other people put the speech out there too. They actually uploaded the same speech. And when they put it out there, some were actually implying, just in their titles alone, that the AU is trying to make it possible for the diaspora to return to Africa. And so, in reading some of the comments and then looking at the speech ourselves, reading these comments, a lot of our people were confused because they were like, wow, an opportunity for us, the diaspora, to return to Africa. And so when you put a title out there and it's that misleading, where they're saying that the AU is trying to call the diaspora home, or that they're trying to open up doors for the diaspora to come home, or they're trying to devise plans for the diaspora to come home, a lot of our people, just from the comments, were thrown off by that. And then even in the speech, there was mention of the diaspora coming home. But then when you go towards the end of the speech, they clarified what they meant, where they said they are bringing back the best of the best. And so many of us, you know, when we look at the title, you draw a conclusion. Sometimes people draw a conclusion just from that. But we always encourage people to go and listen for yourself. So many of you did that, and you came back with your feedback. And there are different, I'm going to say, different sides to it. A lot of people are seeing it one way, some are seeing it another way, and some are just kind of in the middle about it, okay? And so this is why I wanted to talk about this again, because right now, a lot of people feel that those who don't agree with the speech, in any particular portion of the speech, they are believing that you're trying to cause division. Well, there's no division when you're telling people to simply wait on the Most High, definitely pray about these things, understand Bible history, Bible prophecy. These are the things that we are saying, because many times our people will react because something sounds good. They don't investigate. They don't check into the history of the AU. Not that I'm saying it's a bad organization or anything like that, but what we are saying is that in all thy ways acknowledge Yah, and he will direct your path. And to immediately jump on the bandwagon on something after hearing a speech, or drawing a conclusion that we were being asked, or all of the diasporas being asked to come back without doing any further research because you were hyped about a speech. We're simply saying that you should think things out, especially making a move like that. I'm going to give you some reasons why as well. Anyway, like I said, the speech was a great speech, but that's what it was. It was a speech, and you have to pay attention to what is being said. Nowhere in our video did we say that this was a scam, okay? We didn't say it was a scam. Of course, others who looked at the video are saying that's what it was. That is not the conclusion that we came to. What we believed is that this is a plan that was only partially thought out. There are a lot of questions that would definitely need to be answered before anyone should just dive into this without questioning anything. You see, that's with anything that you do. And in no way are we saying not to trust our people. Without any type of investigation, you shouldn't trust anyone. You know, it was brought out by a gentleman that was in our chat room the day that we did the broadcast. They were saying that we so readily trust the white man and we don't question them. And I said, well, no, that's not the truth. Especially anyone who follows our ministry knows that that is not the truth. So there are a lot of speculations going on. A lot of people are speculating, thinking that we want to squash the plan before it even gets off the ground, or speculating that we're putting our trust in Europeans. Well, the same can be said for Africa. Proof is in the pudding right now. In Africa right now, not only do you have Europeans that are recolonizing the land, you also have Asians and people from India. You have every other nation but so-called black people running things right now. Now, you had one voice out of Africa that was saying that Africa is rising, right? And so you get excited when you hear those things. And then that same voice said that Africa is being recolonized. So what is it? Which is it? Is Africa rising, or is it being recolonized? You see, for me, a symbol of Africa rising would be that rulership is back in the hands of our people in its entirety, okay? And not that these other nations are still coming in droves, recolonizing. For me, that does not constitute the rising of Africa if you are also saying that they're taking over again. And many of us, looking from across the water, we are really saddened when we see the stories of how Asians are coming in and just doing this, that, and the other. And Indians are coming in, and you have white people over there. Everyone is still carving up the land, but this time it is by the permission of our people. By the permission of our people. Now, we understand the strong-arm nature of the Europeans, but we also see that if our people were not so divided in Africa, if all of these leaders that by the ambassador's own admission are corrupt, if our own leaders in Africa were not corrupt, if they could just come together, they could have a strong continent, not just a strong country, because there are many countries in Africa. We right now, we live in a country. They live on the continent of Africa that has many, many countries. And if these leaders could all just come together, the black leaders could come together and get along with each other first and say no to the corruption, then I think we would be on to something. Then we could say, okay, here are the beginning stages of Africa rising. Because how can we be rising? And I know I keep repeating this. I'm trying to make sense of it. How could Africa be rising if it is still being recolonized by outsiders? Right? The ambassador mentioned that Africa has all of these vast resources in which the world knows this. This is why everyone is there trying to continue to get at those resources. Africa, to me, is the cradle of everything. It is definitely the anchor of the whole world, not just for those in the diaspora. The whole world depends on Africa. This is why they go there, and they are literally raping the land, pillaging the land. But it's by permission now, because there has not been a plan that has been put together that has been effective enough to get out the colonizers. So this is why the same voice that is saying Africa is rising is also saying that it's being recolonized. Come on now, family. If we put things in Yah's hands, if we were truly a people that were repentant, he says, if my people which are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land. Now, many of us believe that Africa and Israel were once pretty much one and the same, that it was attached, right? They put in that Suez Canal to draw a line of separation, a line of deception, right? So we believe that Africa and Israel and all of that whole region, Upper Africa, especially Northeast Africa, we believe that that was definitely the promised land, okay? And Africa is just the lower parts, and the middle parts of Africa are just an extension of that land, of our land, Israel. And so when the Most High said, if his people which are called by his name would humble themselves and pray and seek his face and turn from their wicked ways, then he would hear from heaven, forgive our sin, and heal our land. He would do it, you see? But right now, because there is no repentance, there's all of these different religions just spread all across Africa. There's the Jesus religion. A lot of our people over there are Christians and Muslims. You do have the lost tribes that are scattered, many of them, like the Limba tribe and some of the other tribes, who are keeping our customs as a people. They are kind of like in the shadows, right? But those who are of a Christian persuasion and Muslim persuasion and all these other beliefs as well, those are the ones that are on the forefront right now, making all of the decisions, right? As it relates to reaching out to us in the diaspora, those are the ones that are making the decisions. Now, some of them may know that we're Israelites, but they are not really, in my opinion, living in the function of a true Israelite. Many of them are very Christianized and have many of the ways that are of Christian persuasion or Western persuasion. And so we are all trying to get past all of that. We are all trying to elevate ourselves out of that, because Christianity is one hell of a drug. And so we are trying to detox ourselves from Christianity. At the same time, family, we've got to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Because when you look at the speech that was given by the ambassador, you have to look at everything, listen to everything. Many of you kept raising the question about the credit union. Now, some of you were saying that she was saying the credit union was hypothetical. Then some of you were saying, well, no, she wasn't saying that the credit union was going to be in Africa. She was saying that it would be here in America. Okay, so let me sum this up for you all, family. Whether it was a hypothetical suggestion about the credit union, or whether she was saying it was going to be here in America or over there, the bottom line is this. The funds that were gathered are going to make their way over there so that they can build the infrastructure that she was speaking about. So it doesn't matter where the funds are gathered. They are going to request funds. She said that they were going to present these funds to the AU only for us to get a seat at the table. And then she specified how the funds would be used. So they're not going to just have funds in a credit union that's just going to sit there. She said this is how the funds would be used: building hospitals, hotels, infrastructure, getting electricity to the villages. These are a number of things that she spoke about. And so then we raised the question, okay, the doctors that they're talking about bringing over there, how are the doctors going to be paid? Will the diaspora be responsible for continuing to send money to pay the doctors? Because if there is no type of insurance or healthcare policies in place now, is that something that's going to be a part of the plan? This is why I say there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. Because right now, a lot of the people in Africa are without any type of health care. I don't know if some regions do have it, but a lot of people don't. This is why they send in missionaries and all sorts of things to help the populations there, right? So there are not a lot of systems in place. So we need to know, how will the doctors that you are calling from the diaspora to go into these villages, how are they going to be paid? Is that something that's going to come out of the 1.2 billion that we have to send every year? Okay, those are some of the questions, and those are not the only questions. And so what many of us have suggested is that we all get our questions together and submit them so that they can be answered in a way that is feasible, so that we have something to look at. So we're not just going off of a speech, a one-time speech that we heard. I think that's fair to you all and to us in the diaspora, that we can put our questions together and you all can answer them. And we can determine if it's feasible before sending money. Another suggestion that Watchman and I had, in which a lot of people were favorable to this, but again, everything has to be put into Yah's hand. I believe that the Most High Yah is the one that we should consult before doing anything. But we were saying, okay, the plan does sound good when you listen to it, but what if the diaspora collected those funds and we decided to go over there and buy land, or either get land from Ghana, who offered land to us, right? What if we built up certain businesses that we wanted, and our people from the diaspora go over there and manage everything? Because Those of you who were paying attention to the speech, the diaspora would collect the funds. Okay, the funds would go to those in Africa to control the assets and the building of things and getting electricity to the villages. But the diaspora would basically oversee. They would oversee the projects, but they wouldn't physically be there running the projects. Okay. Now, there's a number of us who covered this in broadcast, and we don't want any contentions with our brothers and sisters over here. That's not what this is about. There was mention in one broadcast where someone said that we are misinterpreting the ambassador's speech. And they asked for the person that was on the show with them to interpret what he thought the ambassador was saying. Now, this is my response to this, to the two brothers that were doing this call together. My question is this, or my response is this. The ambassador was speaking in English, okay? So her words were very understandable. We could hear her for ourselves. Her speech did not need to be interpreted. When she said that they were going to bring the best of the best back to pretty much be the villages, and she talked about the doctors and professionals pretty much. We have to understand that when we see the response from a lot of our people, let's keep it real now, family. Okay, I speak to you in love. I speak to you in love when I say this. The response from a lot of our people, especially after they saw the titles for some of those who uploaded this video, the speech, they were believing that the AU was trying to devise a plan to bring the diaspora home. This is what they were believing. And so looking at the comments, a lot of our people were so excited about that. It wasn't clear to many of our people that this was basically a business proposal, you see, and that we would fund this business project, the diaspora, but only a select few would be brought back to live in these villages, right? So that had to be pointed out because a lot of our people, some of them actually thanked us for breaking it down. So because they didn't hear that, they didn't understand that. But we told them go listen to it very carefully, and they were able to see that that is exactly what the ambassador was saying, that they are going to bring the best of the best back. So I think it's very important that those of us, especially in ministry, that we have our people to slow down a bit, pray first. If this is something you want to do, by all means do it, okay? But understand what it is you are getting into. We are definitely not trying to discourage anyone from moving to Africa. We are just saying that in all thy getting, get understanding, know what it is you are getting to. We may do a separate video where there were actually some Africans in the comment section, in our comment section, on the video I did regarding the rebuke out of Africa, and the video address that we did concerning what the ambassador is proposing. There are a lot of Africans that actually made comments that need to be looked at. Okay, they don't need to be ignored. One guy in particular, he said that he got his education in, I believe it was electrical engineering. And he said his whole goal was to get educated. I believe he got educated abroad. He returned to Africa, and he wanted to do business with our people in Africa. He's a native-born African. And he said this, that in trying to do business with our people, they constantly looked over his proposals. They said they treated him like if you're not white, Asian, or Indian, then you can't get the contract. And he could not do business in Africa because they wouldn't hire him. Okay, so he was forced to bring his business to America. And he said his business is doing very well. He's very successful because he moved his business from Africa to America. So that leaves me to wonder, right? Then someone else brought up the point of a lot of African doctors leaving Africa, coming to America, and having successful businesses because they couldn't survive in Africa. And so now it sounds like what Africa is saying, okay, a lot of our doctors are not here. You don't have a lot of doctors because many of them are abroad, in which I've seen many African doctors here. As a matter of fact, my mother had an African doctor who she loved, okay? Now, what Africa is saying now, we want those of you in the diaspora that are doctors to come to Africa to fill the void. Okay, so our question then would be, why didn't the African doctors want to remain in Africa, right? So there are so many questions that are out there, especially dealing with the corruption, right? And dealing with the AU's connections with secular industries and organizations. Your connections with them, we want to make sure that those would not interfere with anything that you are proposing to us. There was another person that, I mean, if you look in the comment section, there's a lot of comments that it would basically be treated as a donation, that if we release funds to the AU, just consider it gone. Now, you all have to show us that that is not true by at least establishing something on the continent on your own, because now we had some Africans came at us in a rude way, saying we don't need your money, right? You said you don't need our money. Okay, but some Africans didn't come to us that way. They came very polite, very nice, and wanting us all to sit down and talk, which is what we are doing, okay? Now, get this. You had a couple of Africans said, we don't need your money. Okay, we're fine with that. That's your response. That's how you want to deal with it. But the ambassador said something different. She said, we can't do this without the diaspora, you see. And so we are just kind of in that mode of watching and wondering and praying, which is what we should do. We should pray. We shouldn't do anything based on a call, based on a clarion call. We shouldn't do anything. We should pray first. Right? Now, there's also the talk of the diaspora thinking of this as some type of fulfillment of prophecy. Now, before we jump ahead of ourselves, we need to understand what prophecy says first. Okay, what does prophecy say as to how we are going to get back into our land? The other question is, what is our land? Where did the Most High promise that we would be returned to? So is all of Africa our land, or is only the area surrounding Israel, Northeast Africa, which I consider Israel to be a part of that, is that our land? Or what is our land, right? Where are we to return to? And how are we to return? I don't remember prophecy saying that we're going to pour money into anything in order to return home. But I do remember prophecy, for those of you who even care about that. Prophecy stated that all of these other nations are going to actually take part in funding our return home. They are going to fund our return home. It didn't say that we were going to fund it, right? But it says that these other nations are going to fund our return home. And it also says that the Most High is going to gather us and put us back in our land. Did it not say that? Did it not say that, family? Is that what the Most High said, right? He made clear where our land was, okay? And so we don't want to get excited about something that is not the second Exodus, okay? Let's not make this a second Exodus. If this is a business opportunity, look at it as such, right? But don't try to make it fit into prophecy when that is not what is happening here. Because everything has to line up with what the Most High said, because there are a number of things that are going to take place in the last days. A lot of people are considering this a prophecy of the dry bones. We did a very in-depth lesson on the dry bones. It has nothing to do with us awakening to being Israelites, because the scripture tells you that even our people thousands of years ago knew they were Israelites, but they were asleep. It said it's high time for you to awake out of your sleep. They knew they were Israelites. So the awakening has nothing to do with finding out you are an Israelite. This awakening is far greater than anything we can imagine. Far greater than that. And so we don't want to try to apply prophecy to something that is not prophecy. No offense to the brother. I forget the name of your ministry. No offense to you at all, brother. No offense at all. We love our people, but we want our people to understand prophecy properly and not try to make something fit. Because this definitely does not fit the narrative of dry bones rattling or dry bones awakening and our return home, our exodus out of here. Now, the same could be said. A lot of our people are saying, let's go back to Israel. So this is why you have a lot of Israelites moving to Israel, you see. But for those of you who are excited about going back to Africa, I don't see that same level of excitement about going back to Israel. This is because we have to look at prophecy. What does prophecy say? Now, what it is we all have a desire to be among our own people. And so right now, Africa looks like the best choice for that. But we're going to do another video where we're going to talk about some of the comments that were put on by Africans who are saying, you better know what you're getting into. These are Africans saying this. Know what you're getting into. Don't just jump because someone is telling you to. These are native-born Africans. Some are still there. Some are abroad. And so we don't want to get so excited about a business opportunity in which some of us, well, not myself, but many of you were led to believe that this was a call home. But you're not looking, okay, if you're only putting in $10 a month, in which some of you are saying the credit union thing was hypothetical. Some of you are saying, no, it was real. So which is it, right? Was it hypothetical or was it real? Because there was mention of a credit union and putting in $10 a month. And so one point that we made was that the $10 a month would only give you $120 for 1 year, $240 for 2 years, $360 for 3 years. That's not going to even buy a plane ticket. So we need our people to understand, those of you who are wanting to do this, understand that moving to Africa is going to cost a lot more than $10 a month. So this is where you need to get understanding, and that this was not a call for us to return home. This is a business opportunity that they are presenting, because in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, you still wouldn't even have enough money. In 10 years, that would only be $1,200. That's not even enough to get, that may be enough for one plane ticket, if that. But that doesn't move your family. That doesn't move your belongings. That doesn't cover any other costs. So even in 10 years, I'm just trying to show you that this has nothing to do with bringing us home, okay? Sending this money does not have anything to do with bringing us home. So get that part right, family. Listen to the ambassador's speech for yourself. Right. And now, the other thing is, even as it relates to those of you who are confused about the credit union thing, even if she is saying gather the money here in an American credit union or a credit union within the diaspora, she also said, and the funds gathered would be presented to the African leaders. Meaning, they're going to say, this is what the diaspora have. And then from there, she said that this is what the funds will be used for. So the funds are not going to stay in a credit union, whether it's a credit union here in the diaspora or there in Africa. It doesn't matter where the credit union is. She said the funds are going to be used for this reason. And so we need to know, for those of you who are looking at this from an investment standpoint, how is money going to be made in these African villages that you're putting hotels in, hospitals, and getting electricity to the villages? How is money going to be earned? That's what I would want to know. I would want to know what are going to be where's the cash flow going to come from? Because we know that a hotel can only make so much, right? A hospital, without paying customers, where is the money going to come from that? What are the other businesses that you're proposing? Because the whole thing about oil and all of these other things, now that's a whole other thing, right? First of all of the African leaders, the corrupt African leaders, would have to be reined in, because what they've done is they've given a lot of this over to these foreign nationals, okay? $1.2 billion is not going to get us into the oil business, family. Do your math, okay? It's not going to get us into all of these top-notch businesses that these Asians and the Chinese and the Europeans and the people of India are into. It's not going to get us into that. 1.2 billion is not going to do it. That's not going to cut it, family. Okay? There's a lot involved in going into the oil business and all of these. Now, one thing I do believe, because the ambassador did say that Africa has a lot of resources, I do believe that if all of the African leaders would come together and that 1 billion that they took as a bribe from these other nations, what if y'all put that money together and buy into some of the industries over there that are going to produce all of this cash flow? What if all of the African leaders sat at the table together and took all the bribe money that they've collected, that their families are living off of? What if they put that together and said, okay, we're going to go into the oil business? I don't understand how Africa can have so much oil, but is being controlled by all outsiders. We saw a documentary years ago where they were talking about Madagascar and all of the resources that are being taken from there, and how you have these people from these other countries, if the people of the region even so much as try to take some sugar cane, that they were beating them and killing them. Is this true, family? Those of you in Africa, is this true? When I hear about the atrocities that happen to our people in Africa, I can barely stomach it. We have our own set of things that we are dealing with here in the U.S. But when I hear that our people are being brutalized and killed, not just by outsiders, but by the people, the indigenous people of Africa too, I'm just trying my best to figure out, why are we doing it to each other? So I guess my thing is this: Africa has not proven yet that they can manage their own resources. But they are asking the AU, what projects have you all already done without reaching out to the diaspora? I would want to see that. I would want to see a track record of that first. Those of you who are considering this, if a black person here in the U.S. asked you to do the same thing, and we are right here together, would you just start pouring your money into that? I'm talking to those of you in the diaspora. We can't even come together over here, and we're trying to come together with a estranged family that have not proven that they could manage their own resources. And no, I am not talking about the population of Africa. I'm talking about those of you in leadership, those of you who are presenting this proposal to the diaspora. That's who I'm talking to, because my heart goes out for the people of Africa that are suffering. Has the AU done anything? Has the African Union done anything to help the population of Africa? Can we talk about that, family? I believe that needs to be talked about first before anything else. Listen, no disrespect to the ambassador at all. I believe, sister, that you had a very lovely speech. Lovely speech. But right now, from where I'm sitting, that's all it is. It was just a speech. Me personally, with any investment, I want to see a business plan. Something that I can look at. And so I think that's where you all should start. Okay? You all did say that you're looking at all of these different organizations here in America, all the churches, how they're collecting all of this money. You're looking at the churches, and what some of the churches might want to be on board with what you're doing. I'm talking to those of you who are awakened, or should I say, I can't say awakened Israelites because that does not constitute awakening, but those of you who are looking at this and you know the truth about who we are. My message is to those of you who are considering it, because I want you to look at the whole thing. Ask for a business plan. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? If you are considering doing this, look at a business plan. Understand what you're getting into. Okay? And my message is also to those who were misinformed on believing that this was a call home. Look at the numbers. $10 a month is not going to get you home. Not even in 20 years. If you gave only $10 a month, in 20 years, that's not enough for you to go back. There are even Africans saying that if you want to come to Africa, you have to have some money. You can't come over there poor. You can't come over there with a little bit. Now, real quickly, before I run out of time here, the proposal that Watchman and I were giving, I don't think I got into it here, but on the other video we did. We said, what if we collected that money here in the diaspora? I think I did say it now that I mentioned it, but I'm going to go into it again for those of you who may have missed it. What if we did the exact same thing that the ambassador is saying, collected that money here, using a black-owned credit union here, and we travel to Africa, or some of us, not all of us, because not everyone has that desire to go. But what if we did go over there and establish businesses? We would still be contributing to the African population's growth. We would have businesses owned by African Americans or other people in the diaspora, because of the Caribbean, they said, don't leave us out. Okay, we're not leaving you out, family. But those in the diaspora, what if we went over there and set up exactly what you all are talking about? Then that way, no one would feel like they are putting their hands into an organization that has not proven themselves in terms of financially entrusting you with our money, because we see so much corruption in Africa. We do. Everyone sees it. A lot of people talk about it. You see, the Nigerian scams were off the chart. I mean, I'm telling you, we would get emails and things from Africans saying, wire this money here. Well, that scam went on for a long time. I don't know if it's still happening, but a lot of people were getting these Nigerian scam emails and things of that nature. You see, not trying to put anyone down, family, but trust is not given. It has to be earned. That's where we stand with all of this. It has to be earned. And so we're just simply saying, what if our people here in the diaspora who were interested in this business proposal, what if we used our funds and did the exact same thing, but we oversee everything, including the handling of the assets once it gets on the continent, not turning it over to the AU and letting them handle things, right? But allowing our own people who are business savvy to go over there and establish these businesses, use our money from the diaspora to build these hotels or whatever other businesses we felt the need to build, whether it's tapping into the moringa market or the coffee market or whatever markets are over there and available. Of course, we would definitely depend on those in Africa to show us the ropes on how things are done in Africa, but we would handle the assets. And that's just an idea, family. It's just a thought for anyone who was interested in doing something like that. And so then that would squash all of the concerns and questions that we have about trust, right? Because again, trust is not given, it's earned. It's something that must be earned. And when we see that the population of Africa is already experiencing a lot of trouble, you have these Europeans and Asians and all these other nations over there just tearing the place up, divide the money amongst themselves or sending it back home, and the Africans are just kind of sitting by, watching it happen. And you have those African leaders who do talk about these issues, but again, you have to do more than just talk. All of you need to come together and get these other nations out of there. Simple as that. That's what needs to happen, right? Is that going to happen? That's what many of us would like to see before we start sending money or having you all invest our money for us. Because again, back to the credit union situation, it doesn't matter if the credit union is here or there. Bottom line is the money is going to end up in Africa. That's what they said. This is how they are going to use the funds. So I hope I'm giving you something to think about. I know I've repeated a lot of things. That was intentionally so that you can get it into your mind that you need to pay close attention to exactly what the speech has proposed to us, right? And so that you can be mindful of what biblical prophecy says, so that you can also pray and seek Yah before jumping into this, right? And look at what some other Africans are saying. We will again do that later. As a matter of fact, you can go yourself under the first video that we put the same videos up on the Watchman Reports channel and the Redirecting channel, in which a lot of the Africans are telling us, you better think first, you better pay attention, you better pray first. But I'm going to screenshot a lot of those comments and I'm going to share them with you, okay, for those of you who may not want to go through the comment section. If you're going to listen to someone, if you don't want to listen to me, listen to other Africans who were native born. Listen to some of them that are already there. And also, we need to find out, is there a website that we can go to that shows what the AU is doing or has done for the present African population? And I'm talking about the indigenous African population, not these people that they are in cahoots with as far as these other nations, right? But what has the AU done for the African population that we could see, that we could verify, that is significant, that has helped the poor people there, that is dealing with the poverty and all these other things? And again, to the few that said, we don't need your money, well, that's not what the ambassador said, okay? That's not what the ambassador said. We would like a seat at the table, but we want a valid seat. We don't want to feel iffy about it, okay? We have a right to have these concerns. Some of you are questioning why we are questioning. And to me, it's like, why question someone who is questioning where their money is going? I would say to anybody, if you're going to invest in anything, ask some questions. Don't just blindly pour your money in. This is why they call us liquid money. Liquid money means that you just pour it in any direction without checking into anything. That's why these other nations call us liquid money, because they see us as an opportunity that we spend without thinking. That's what liquid money means, family. You spend without thinking. Don't mean to insult anyone. I love all of you, but the truth is what it is, family. So what does love have to do with it? If someone really truly cares about your stake in something, they're going to tell you the truth, and that is what I am doing, right? Not saying not to do this, but I'm saying think about what you're doing. Investigate, ask questions, and look at other alternatives. Another alternative, and then I'm going to let you go because I think I'm running out of time. But another alternative, we told you that years ago, many years ago, a group of African Americans pooled their money together and they went to Africa. They bought their land and set up their own habitations. And they set up their own businesses. So they are contributing to the continent's economy. But they are living there to handle it all themselves. They're saying, okay, I don't want to just send money there, but I want to be there too. And so a group of them. So if some of you wanted to do that, if you wanted to just pull your money together and say, okay, a small group of us can go and do this, then another group and another group, do it like that. But don't go over there blindly because someone has presented a plan to you, a plan that is not well thought out, a plan that did not answer a lot of questions that needs to be answered. You see, I feel like they're asking for the money, but haven't presented a plan that shows how those who believe that they were going to get back is going to get back, or even shows how we're going to get any type of profit. Because anyone who invests, they expect a profit, right? How are we going, for those of you who are only looking at this as a business opportunity, ask the questions, how are you going to get a return on your money? What type of businesses are going to be set up that are going to bring in cash? You need to ask that, okay? And for those of you who are looking to get over there, who believed that this was an opportunity for the diaspora to return home, ask about that. What is going to be put in place, and how is your $10 a month going to get you and your family over there? Not just over there, because it's one thing to get over there. Where are you going to live? Is the AU going to provide housing? This is what you want to ask if you think that this is what this was all about. Are they going to provide housing? Will there be jobs? Are they going to have some type of organizations set up over there to show us how to get around and how to do things and accomplish things? These are the questions you need to jot down, family. So if you're thinking about it one way or the other, to either live there or just invest there, ask these questions. Wisdom says to ask questions. That's what the Most High says. And all I get understanding. You see, the word of the Most High tells us not to put our confidence in man, but to put our confidence in him. And if those of you who are thinking this is a fulfillment of prophecy, revisit the scripture again. Don't try to make it fit. Make sure it does fit, okay? Because we don't want to try to jump ahead of prophecy to circumvent what Yah has already said is going to take place. We don't want to circumvent or supersede prophecy by trying to make it fit. It has to fit, okay? I think I've said a lot here, family. Again, I love the idea of trying to do something in Africa, but I think that we have to do all things decent and in order. doing things properly. And so, yeah, this is me again giving my 2 cents on the conversation. The conversation needs to be had because many of us do have a desire to live there, and many of us would like to invest there, but we need to go about it the right way. Should we turn our money over to the EU, or should we seek another way? Okay, family, I love you and shalom.